If you didn't get enough of the Porsche action on track yesterday, I have great news. We're going to do it all over again as we get ready for the Porsche Sprint Challenge GT3 Cup Series. I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is former sports car racer Joey Atterbury. Joey, the drivers have been telling me this track is very smooth, but I think they're going to have to be smooth to be fast here.
Smooth and consistent is always king at any racetrack, and it's a beautiful Sunday for racing here in Alabama. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the track map because this is an elevation-filled roller coaster, just under 2.5 miles long and 17 turns in total length. It kicks off with turn number 1, steep downhill from entry apex all the way through exit. And you see it leads us into our Alabama roller coaster, turns 2, 3, and 4. You gotta get on the gas as soon as possible because our best passing zone is down there at Charlotte's Web. That's turn number 5 where that big old spider is located just outside of that gravel trap. Also, look down towards the museum corner section. Turn number 8 can be another passing opportunity if things get crossed up in the previous corner. And then in sectors number 2, it is a high-speed left-right S section of 11 and 12, 12 and 13, up and over the tunnel turn into sector number 3, a tight technical twisting bit. Turn number 17 is the final corner we've got here at Barber.
Yeah, heads you downhill onto that main straight where you definitely need a good run to keep yourself safe. But for the racing itself, we got the cars gridded up. We're already on our second pace lap. We might as well head through our starting order as Carl Stout is going to be on the pole once again. Blake McGovern will be starting to his outside. It'll be Lockie Bloxham starting on the inside of row number 2. Riley Giacomazzi will flank him in the 296 Competition Motorsports machine. Then it's Luke French starting in P5, and then Evan Hinkle for TPC Racing will start in 6. In row number 4, Matt Siegel is on the inside in P7. You've got Chris Hutter to his outside in 8th. Joel Johnson takes the Masters pole once again, with Jens Hansen rounding out your top 10, Joey.
And we've got Keith McGovern back here in 11th. Brandon Hankins is going to be lined up next to him in the 12th place. 13th is going to be Todd Treffert with Elaine Scalzo lined up in 14th. Bill Fennick in 15th with Mark Bowden lined up in 16th. Then we have the 248 car of Frank Vitiello rolling off 17th with Alessandro Chiacchetti in 18th. Monty back here in 19th and Grady Willingham in 20th.
From there, the last 4 drivers see Greg Shermer starting in 21st. It's Scott Neal in 22nd. And the final row has Francisco de Jesus and Steven Schmitz rounding out 24 cars going racing today. They're already lined up and just about ready to go. Back of the field is still just about catching up. Let's hope they can get there in time so we don't get an aborted start here as the pace car is in and it's on its way towards the start finish. They're holding them a long time, but there is the green flag, and we go racing for the last time in the GT3 Cup this weekend down into the first corner. Still very much 2x2 all throughout the field. And it looks like they've managed to get out the other side. I see no incidents.
Yeah, Carl Stout is still leading. We're through the Alabama roller coaster right now. Turns 2, 3, and then back up the hill for turn number 4. The car extremely light on its feet. And now turn 5, Charlotte's Web for the first time. 2 wide for second place.
And Luke French is diving down the outside into this one. He's trying to get as many positions as he can. He gets a good launch off there. Meanwhile, it's still a battle for P2 between McGovern and Bloxham. But I think Bloxham has managed to take that away from McGovern.
This is a race going down into the museum corner. Look at how many cars are still 2 wide. They got to sort each other out because it gets so narrow through here, and all of a sudden the cars are going to stand on the gas 120 miles an hour through this 10-11 complex.
One car to watch out for, Elaine Scalzo. He was our winner yesterday, but his qualifying position for race 2 was not there at all. He started from 4th, and I think he's already fallen a number of positions down to 6th. Up and over the tunnel turn for the first time. Once again, a blind overcrest section, and it leads us into sector number 3. This tight, twisting 16 and 17. It was 2 wide between Bloxham and McGovern. McGovern was getting feisty. He wants that second place back. Absolutely, and as they cross the start line, McGovern is taking just a little bit of a peek down into turn 1, but you got to be fully alongside to try and make that happen, so he stays line astern with him. Meanwhile, the rest of the pack is still fighting fiercely as well. Carl Stout is your overall leader, but Keith McGovern, we missed that. He is up to the lead in the Masters.
You're right, the 288 is ahead of everybody else in that Masters class, but it is a busy place. Talking about turn number 5 right now, I think I see Riley Jacquemazzi there in 4th place taking a look at Blake McGovern, and look at the run that Bloxham has on our leader.
He's been challenging for a couple corners now. He's going to force him down to the inside, coming into Museum Corner, but he doesn't quite get the overlap that he needs. This is what we've been waiting for. Who can challenge Stout with the incredible speed he's had all weekend?
We talked about it at the end of yesterday. I think the outright pace definitely goes the 243, but once you get into these racing situations, what is the racecraft like with everybody else? And it certainly seems like Bloxham is up on the wheel today.
It's making him have a run for his money. He's come in here, as a reminder, from the Australian Carrera Cup Series to try and compete this weekend, and has definitely made a splash. Lockie is going to get another chance here soon, because this was where he was strong last time, coming out of that final corner, looking down towards turn 1. Completing another lap. He's not nearly as close this time. Same thing with Blake McGovern. Drops back just a little bit.
Keith McGovern, though, still leading that Masters class. I was noticing Todd Treffert has fallen down to 3rd place in that, with Brandon Hankins moving up. Now, Brandon's, of course, a Pro-Am competitor. He's up into the top 10 in terms of the Pro-Am class. But definitely some great racing going on. And this time down into turn 5, a little bit more single file. It seems like Carl Stout has a little bit more of, call it a stiff arm distance.
Yeah, he's keeping them at bay, at least for the time being. Can he start to stretch away, though, as we got a couple cars closer in the mid-pack, looking like we might have a battle heading to Museum Corner.
That was Luke French, who went wide in turn number 6 and dropped 2 wheels in the dirt, and it was Evan Hinkle that had a tremendous run, but Luke French was able to kind of escape down to that turn number 7 brake zone before Evan could really challenge him up alongside, but I have a feeling that's going to continue to be a fight.
Also, watch out for Joel Johnson. Remember, he started on pole 4. Whoa, as we had a car kicking up a ton of dirt on the backstretch out of turn 11. He'll get away with it. We had an unfortunate accident out of there in the Cayman, so you got to watch out how wide you go there.
Car placement is incredibly crucial, especially in these faster sections. If you're out a little bit wide, you can certainly be going for a ride out there. I think I saw a little bit of a look going down into turn number 17 from one of our competitors out here. That was the 225. That was Jens Hansen taking a look on Keith McGovern.
But I was about to say, before we had the close incident there on the backstretch, Joel Johnson started on pole. He's sitting in 2nd, but the important thing is Keith McGovern has a buffer. Jens Hansen in the Pro-Am class is sitting between them. If you're looking for the differences, the green end plates are going to be your Pro-Ams. The yellow are going to be your Masters. Oh, as we got a big accident heading down into turn 5. That may actually have been Joel Johnson.
I think it might have. I see Brandon Hankins in the gravel as well. We have 2 cars in the gravel on the driver's right side of turn number 5. We've got a local yellow right now. I'm sure we're going to be getting a full course caution here soon enough.
Yeah, one is definitely stuck in the gravel. It looked like Joel was getting the car to rock back and forth, but I don't think we'll get them to move very far based on the hit that we saw into the corner.
And now we do have our full course yellow flag. You know, I was looking at the pair of cars directly in front of these two, and it was actually Jens Hansen making that move on Keith McGovern. So to go along with that Masters class sort of storyline, but you got one of them rolling. I believe that's Joel Johnson rolling, but Brandon Hankins is still firmly in the gravel.
Yeah, and I'm trying to figure out which of the two hit the barrier on the way in. It was a glancing blow. It may have been Joel Johnson. So hopefully it didn't hurt the car too much, but it certainly sent signage and all kinds of things flying.
It was a pretty spectacular incident in terms of, you're right, the signs flying and everything. Of course, we got, I think, some foam barriers down there too, but unfortunately we do have that stranded car now, this white, black, and red 295 of Brandon Hankins. And talking about Brandon, I mean, he had a tremendous start to the year, probably a heartbreak right now.
Well, Charlotte's Web claims another one. That downhill braking is so tempting. It's the best place to try and make an overtake, and sometimes that does mean that drivers wind up getting too ambitious into there, especially this early in the race. Everybody's kind of doing their own thing if you're not watching out. the two of you can tangle in that web. But we'll slow down as they have to remove Brandon Hankins. This is not the weekend he's been looking for. As his season started off very promising, but it's kind of fallen apart, unfortunately, down here in Alabama.
Yeah, sometimes racing is very, very nice to you, and sometimes it can be very, very cruel, and I think Brandon has certainly seen both sides of that, but thankfully he's got a tremendous team behind him, a great coach over there with Andy Lee as well, so they'll get the mindset right and definitely come back out. Now we've got the 227 of Joel Johnson here in front of us on pit lane, and Joe, from all the signs and everything that were flying down there at turn number 5, the car looks remarkably clean.
Yeah, there's no pieces missing that are visible on our side. Granted, we can only see the left side, most of the back, and then some of the front here. They are looking at the right front, though, and they did put it up on the jack, so they are inspecting that corner. The car could have made some contact with the wall and just knocked it out of alignment. In the meantime, just an update on your order now that they've settled in behind the safety car. Carl Stout is still your leader. Bloxham sits in second in the Pro-Ams, and Blake McGovern has lost that second place down to P3. Now Keith McGovern moving up to the lead of the Masters. That's the big story there. Todd Treffert sits in second, and Bill Finnick, because of us losing Joel Johnson, has moved onto the podium in the Masters.
Oh, well, look at that. And I think that Fennick is definitely looking for a positive result. I know that went for maybe one or two off tracks in qualifying, so went back and reviewed that data. And obviously the team got the car nice and handling proper for Bill underneath him. And you're right, he's sitting in that podium position right now.
So Scalzo gets up to 5th because of that. Remember, he lost 2 spots in that opening lap. Seemed to get a little bit swamped, I imagine. He's going to hope that this backing up of the field on this restart will give him more chances to try and get back in the mix and make that one right. We haven't seen replays of this yet, but Joey and I are getting visual on our side. And I'm starting to think that Joel Johnson did not know that Brandon Hankins was in there on the braking.
That's exactly what I see as well, is that Joel was kind of in the middle of the racetrack, so Brandon took the right side of the racetrack in terms of the racing incident itself. And I think that Joel probably just had no idea that the 295 was that far up alongside the right and just kind of faded back over there. I do see Brandon Hankins' car rolling now. They pulled him out of the gravel, so that 295 is at least going to be able to drive back.
Exactly. And that, it means there's going to be less of a cleanup, hopefully, less they knocked over some stuff that needs to get put back in place on the barriers down into that corner. But just unfortunate. Miscommunications can absolutely happen. And you got to have your head on a swivel with how fast-paced Sprint Challenge can be. Hopefully that'll mean that Hankins can carry on. I'm sure he'll make a visit to pit lane and have his crew look over the car, but he is already laps down.
And just kind of from what we could briefly see on the onboard, it did look like at least the Joel Johnson car, the 227, if it took an impact, it would have been the front right, which, like you mentioned, we can't see from the commentator booth.
Well, they haven't moved the car, so I'm going to take a guess that that one is done because they don't really have crew members working on it, so I don't think they intend to send that back out. We'll keep an eye on it in case they do deem it good enough to continue racing. We'll keep an eye as well on the lights on the safety car because they're crossing the start and finish line right now. They'll have until turn 16, I think it is, to be able to turn those off and deem this race ready to resume. Oh, and now we're getting replays on the broadcast of the incident Joey and I were talking about. So yeah, that illustrates what we were mentioning of the run down into turn 5 and just the miscommunication between the pair of them. For those fans watching here at the track, we are being broadcast live on Porsche Motorsports North America YouTube channel, so you can follow along there, where we've got a few extra visuals that you won't be able to catch on the big screens here this weekend. And lights are still on the safety car right now as they return to the scene of the accident down into 5.
Hopefully we will be getting those lights out like you had mentioned. I don't see any debris down there. Everybody's been cleaned up, so I know that race control is extremely efficient about everything. I do see the track workers down here at turn number 1 area. look to be picking up a little bit of debris.
Yep, that's what they're doing. So that's the little bit of a delay, but they're already heading out. We can see on cameras now there's a couple workers dashing out onto the front straight, getting some last little things out of the way, and we should be good to go. And in fact, I'm looking at the safety car now, and lights are indeed out. We have confirmed that we are going racing.
That is a great sign out there, and like you mentioned, everybody is going to be getting everything they can possibly as warm, so that way they can go racing one more time out here. Like you see, the lights are out. We're going to see that safety car accelerate away from the field, and then it is up to the 243 of Carl Stout to bring that field at a safety car speed to when he decides to do the restart.
Exactly. And I mentioned we're on YouTube with Porsche Motorsport North America. We're also live on X, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So you have your choice on where you want to watch if you've got your mobile device with you. But for now, we're going to watch them race because the green flag is out. Oh, but there is a lot of cars that are going out to the side before we even get to turn one. Let's hope everybody gives some space into the corner because this is going to be tricky into here. And I think Keith McGovern is going to get spun around. Somebody has to go off into the paved runoff, but everybody gets facing the right way immediately. We stay green.
A little bit of a 360 off the track after a little bit of contact, but he rejoins the racetrack, and we stay green like you heard Joe Peak say, and it is 1, 2, 3, 4 single file. However, Riley Giacomazzi was trying to get around that car of Blake McGovern directly in front of him, maybe bobbled a little bit on exit. Watch out for Siegel behind him.
So that was our Masters leader that got spun on the restart. That means Mark Bowden is now up at the front. And Elaine Scalzo, I said he had a bad start last time. Well, now he's gone from 5th to 2nd.
Oh my goodness, talk about some drama to begin this race. I mean, we're not even 15 minutes into this one, and we've seen so many class change leads down there in the Masters class between Bowden, Treffert, Joel Johnson, and company.
Now, I don't have the confirmation, but I see Todd Treffert as being down in 13th now, so I wonder if he was the other car that was involved with Keith McGovern in that incident. The driver is now heading around to complete the first lap back racing, but the 214 is showing is stopped on track currently.
Well, hopefully it's in a safe area. Carl Stout continues to set the pace out front by about 3/4 of a second over Lockie Bloxham. Then Blake McGovern in 3rd, Riley Giacomazzi in 4th, with Matt Siegel back here in 5th place. That's our top 5 in Pro-Am. Mark Bowden, Elaine Scalzo, Frank Vitiello is our top 3 in Masters.
I think Treffert, well, no, I'm still not seeing that car moving on our track map, but he is the 214. Something must have happened to him in that run through the first couple corners, but in the meantime, it is still Stout leading Bloxham. It's about 0.8 of a second between them.
And actually have just a little bit of a piece of shade right now over the racetrack. It's been a beautiful weekend. However, yesterday kind of cooler, chillier temperatures, and it has carried over into this morning here. So I think that the drivers are absolutely loving what is going on with the racetrack right now. Nice, cool, ambient air, but the sunshine makes the track temperature nice and warm, which makes those Yokohama tires very happy.
We did get an update on that first incident that brought out our initial yellow there, and it looks like Joel Johnson has been deemed at fault for that one, but it's kind of a moot point. There's no real penalty for him to serve since he's out of this race. We get a little bit of side-by-side there for a moment through turns 14 and 15. Didn't quite catch who that was, but almost looked like we had a change of position for a brief moment. I can say that Jens Hansen is getting very close behind Chris Hutter.
And I think it might have been Luke French going by Matt Siegel. I see a change for position up into 5th right now, and that was interesting because I really thought that Siegel was applying the pressure to the back of Riley directly in front of him, but obviously Luke French was the one that was able to take advantage, and Luke was definitely one of those cars hanging out in the top 5 in race number 1 yesterday. He's trying to make his way up in terms of that track position.
Well, we're already down to 18 minutes plus 1 lap to go in this 35-minute race. It has gone by quickly thanks to that initial yellow, and then what a dramatic restart that we've witnessed. Bloxham continuing to try and hold on to Stout. Now remember, he had to fight for that second place through much of the early stages of the race yesterday. And I wonder if this is going to help him hold on to Carl a little bit better now that he's got that clear air.
I think it will. And that's sometimes all you need is just that little bit of track position, and then you can focus your sights on your target directly in front of you. Bloxham's been doing a terrific job in terms of gaining that pace, but it really has been the 243 in terms of you look at the timesheets, you look at practice, you look at qualifying. Carl Stout has been on top. It's just that once you get into the race, can you maybe get in the mind a little bit, show the nose down into a corner, put him on the back foot a little, and Lockie Bloxham was certainly doing that for the first handful of laps.
We saw through the penultimate corner that dark brown bronze machine of Jens Hansen got ahead of Chris Hutter. That's for P7. We also have another penalty, 214. Todd Treffert deemed at fault, and I think he's already serving it now. Yes, he was just in front of us as he went by and has served his stop plus 30.
I think that's
that's Hankins
going up into the garage, unfortunately, after that incident. So I think he brought it into pit lane. The crew was able to say, you know what, time to take it back to the garage. We got a little bit more problem than what we thought.
Apologies. So Treffert still needs to serve that, but that was, of course, in regards to his incident with Scalzo, who still remains in second. Keith McGovern has moved back into fifth in class, past Neal, the 264 car. So he's starting to make some inroads, but I feel like there's a bit of a missed opportunity for Keith McGovern in this one.
I see a lot of dust and dirt being kicked up on the backside of the racetrack that's over in the, call it 10-11 complex, and that's where car placement is so critical. We had a huge incident yesterday in the Cayman race, and don't want to have a repeat of that, but sometimes you just got to abuse those curbs, and in these more production-based cars, that's exactly what they can do. They're a little bit more compliant over the apex and exit curbs.
On screen, we're seeing what Carl Stout has in terms of a lead over Bloxham. It's up to about 1.8 seconds, so it is continuing to grow a little bit, but it's not a lot at this stage. He's keeping them honest, especially with it being a shortened race now. That gives less time for Carl to try and put himself out of reach of the field.
And you know, just kind of glancing through timing and scoring, I think we've got a decent couple battles here on the racetrack. One for that Masters class lead, right? That's Mark Bowden in that fall line car, that blue 246, being chased by Elaine Scalzo, the 222. That's that orange and blue machine, and we got another spin.
That's McGovern again.
Turn number 5.
That's Keith McGovern, and he's losing ever more spots. Now, thankfully, it looks like a simple spin, and yes, he is able to get going as we check the onboard. Everything is underway, but he falls ever further back. Bowden still leads in that Masters class. Scalzo in second. Frank Vitiello currently sitting in third.
Elaine, though, is really starting to put the pressure on the back of Mark Bowden. I think that Bowden had a tremendous couple of moves to get him up into that Masters class lead, especially with all of that action going down there at turn number 1 and then turn number 5 in the race. So he's really been able to kind of seize this race, and now it's in his hands and his control to hold back Elaine Scalzo.
Just want to note that Bloxham and Stout have been pushing. It was a personal best first sector for Lockie, a purple second sector for him, and then Stout went purple in the third sector that last lap. So they're both running at 10/10ths, but Carl was so quick in that third sector, he still was faster last time by.
Oh, you know, when I went back and looked at something, that Keith McGovern spin down in turn number 5 did have a little bit of contact as well, so it's going to be a little bit interesting how race control views that one. However, the other car did not spin. It was kind of a self-inflicting one on Keith.
I imagine they would probably consider it that one. But we'll see what the stewards say. They have a much better look at things.
And I think it's Frank Vitiello there on the backside of the racetrack being chased by Bill Fennick. That's the 248 and the 265 over there by the museum corner right now. I was just noticing that Fennick seemed to have a pretty good run there on Frank.
He's awful close. I'm sure he'd love to get back onto that podium. He's lost out. I wonder if he was one of the ones that had to go off course to try and avoid some of the craziness on this restart. We're on board with Finnick now in that 265 down towards the tunnel turn. Such a fast entry, and then it rises up over the crest. You got to make sure you keep your wheels on the pavement, and thankfully both of them do so this time through. Down to the final right-hand braking zone and much wider. Is he going to look for a move down into 17? Fennick thought about it but backed out.
Maybe a little bit optimistic there from Fennick, but what I did love seeing is that Vitiello noticed him in the mirror taking a look down into turn number 17, and he left plenty of room there at apex. And the other thing that I had noticed when we were riding on board with Fennick, two totally different line choices through turn number 13. Vitiello decided to stay more on the racing line on the racetrack, while Fennick was using that inside curb, almost like a rally car trying to hook the car around the corner.
Gonna have to dig up to see if Bowden had a victory last season, because off the top of my head I'm not remembering. He does still have Scalzo relatively close behind. He's keeping it to within about half a second to 3/4 of a second. So he's got him honest, but he's gonna have to get closer if he wants to strike.
And he's kind of in the train, right? Scalzo's the caboose on this 4-car train, so he is chasing Mark Bowden for that Masters Class lead, but directly in front of Bowden is Evan Hinkle, and directly in front of Evan is Chris Hutter. So it's not just a 2-car battle out there. Mark Bowden is trying to pass Evan Hinkle, so he's getting pushed. Elaine Scalzo is trying to catch that 246. They're all just kind of feeding into each other.
So Mark Bowden's best finish was 3 third places in 25, and he matched that with a 3rd place at race 2 in Sebring. This is going to be a massive step up if he can hold station for the following 12 minutes plus 1 lap. But one thing we always say about Scalzo, he's not shy about attacking. I think Bowden's going to have his hands full.
Correct. And like you said, 11 plus minutes is plenty of time for Scalzo to throw a few attacks there at that Fall Line Motorsports machine. I was just kind of scanning through timing and scoring here, and you had mentioned that Carl Stout was continuing to push, especially with Lockie Bloxham behind. And I mean, purple sector 1 this lap, and we're on lap number 15. It's not like these are brand new sticker tires.
Exactly. He's just got it up to about 3.3 seconds. Purple sector 1, didn't go personal best in sector 2. So not as good in the middle part of the track this time around, but we'll watch and see what it is between them when they cross the line, because 0.6 of a second is a pretty good gap over a single lap. Lockie is going to have to try and get himself back into the range of reeling him in. Crossing the line, and it is now 0.7 quicker for the Belgian over the Australian.
What an impressive lap. He is the only car down in the 123s at this time, and that last lap time, it was not like a 123.9, a 123.6, so right in the mid 123s. Everybody else is 124.1 or higher.
Ooh, and Bill Fennick, again, he likes that inside coming into the final corner, but is just unable to get by Frank Vitiello. We kind of teasingly call Frank the Tank sometimes, and he's certainly making it as wide as one today.
I've just noticed that the difference between the driving styles here is Fennick is aggressive on the brake pedal, and he's going to have a really good run here up and over turn number 4. Does he decide to make a move down into turn number 5? He takes a look. He's going to go down the outside, try to force it too wide. That might be a little bit out into the marbles. He's on the gas, and what kind of run can he get towards the museum?
Oh, he's using it to great effect. He had a longer exit out of that corner, and that gave him speed, but it starts to run out, and unfortunately he has to back out before they get into Museum Corner. I think that I like what I'm seeing from Bill right now is he's giving it his all. He's not leaving anything on the table.
And he's just so confident in charging into the corner, so he's going to be far more aggressive going into these brake zones than what we see out of that red 248 directly in front. Now, let's watch the lines here through 12 and 13 as we cut away to a battle a little bit further back here. I think that this is De Jesus with Grady Willingham directly behind. Got the 228 and also Shermer involved in this one.
Yeah, he's got a whole train back there. McGovern is in there, Keith McGovern. It looks like he just passed Steven Schmitz. And De Jesus, one of those drivers that could use a good result. If he can also withstand immense pressure, he could come away with one of his best points finishes.
And I think really the car to watch in this battle is that black, green, white, and orange car. That is McGovern, Keith McGovern. He was further up the order earlier on in the race, but because of a couple spins, now he's buried in this track position.
Willingham was getting close down the main straight, but it's so hard to pass into there. Look at the wide line from Keith McGovern as he tries to set himself up. We turn our attention back once again to Vitiello versus Finnick, but no change down into turn 5 this time.
Let's see if anybody pops out. There goes McGovern down into turn number 5. He takes away one of those positions, so move him up a spot. And like I said, I have a feeling that McGovern might have just a little bit more pace than the rest of the cars that are in this train that we're watching, so some good passing opportunity for him.
Grady took another look once again up to 8, but just couldn't get the overlap that he needed. You really need to be fully side by side into that corner to try and pass, since it is so narrow down that hill. He backs off once again. Francisco de Jesus doing a great job playing defense today.
Not quite close enough, at least from what I see, to make a move into that turn 12 brake zone. I think that going down into that section of the racetrack, it's such a minimal brake zone, so you really have to be all the way alongside somebody. And now a poke down to the inside from Willingham in turn number 16 area. They're going to be almost side by side, and now actually has to lift way off of the gas coming through 17.
Oh, and he gets a much better exit. He's actually going to get to the inside, coming down into turn 1. Can he get this job done is the question, and yes, he can. So move Grady Willingham up to 6th in the Masters with that move, and now Keith McGovern has rocked up to the back of Francisco.
It was a double pass down in turn number 1 from 2 different cars. Keith McGovern also made that move, and he's lining up De Jesus right now going into turn number 5. Outbrakes him on that brake pedal pressure, keeps it down at the apex. Keith McGovern, another spot.
I got to give Keith credit. I didn't think he would be this quick to make up spots as De Jesus all the way off the course, coming off of 5. He'll get it back onto the circuit, but I think he's fallen to the tail of the train now.
That's exactly what happened. You want to make sure you keep all of those tires on the pavement, and just as I say that, there's a huge cloud of smoke out of the turn 10, 11 complex as well, so the drivers right now trying to find the absolute limit of that track.
Maybe going a little bit beyond it too, as they're still going through that cloud of dust. That's how much was kicked up out of there. This train that we've been following now being led by Willingham. In the meantime, I think Luke French has managed to move himself to 4th past Giacomazzi.
Yeah, I see that too, and it's actually quite a significant margin already, so I wonder maybe if Riley had a little bit of a mistake somewhere, but that moves Luke French in that 275 up into 4th.
One of the big stories this season has been Riley's a little bit more inexperienced, but he's had to work his way up through. He started out as part of the crew coming in to try and compete here through Competition Motorsports, and eventually worked his way up to getting a chance to drive the car. Has done very well, but I think maybe some of that inexperience is showing itself now.
And it's going to be seat time, right? He's going to learn from this. He's going to learn from Sebring. He's going to learn from every single practice session that he's out there. And I think it's just an art of honing the craft. As we see now, it really is Keith McGovern on the back of Grady Willingham going into the museum corner section. Is Keith going to pop out? He's going to stay in the racing line for now. Just apply as much pressure as possible to the back of Willingham.
Well, it has not been a perfect race for Keith McGovern. His grit here to try and recover has been phenomenal. He hasn't got the spot from Willingham yet, but if he does, that'll put him back into 6th. And again, he would have been looking for much more than that, considering at one point he was leading that class, but I don't think he should feel too ashamed the way he has responded to his woes.
I think I saw the car of De Jesus going through the dirt on the museum corner section as well, but thankfully no spin, no off track. Other than that, he's back on the racing line as we get a battle a little bit further up in the field. I believe this might be Giacomazzi and Siegel. No, I'm incorrect on that.
It's Hutter and Hinkle, I think, as well as Bowden and Scalzo. We kind of got 2 pairs they're fighting. One is for 8th and 9th in the Pro-Ams. The other is for the lead in the Masters. I said that Bowden will have to try and do his best to hold off Scalzo. So far, he's done that. We haven't seen any attacks from the Canadian.
And I was just, remember, we were just talking about French and Giacomazzi. It's definitely a mistake out of Riley because that last lap time, a 128, and they've been doing about 124s out there. So it's definitely a mistake from the 296. But the reason why I mentioned it is now Matt Siegel is rocked up right on the back end.
Oh, but Luke French has some bad news coming his way. Improper start procedure, 10-second post-race time penalty. Giacomazzi's still within 4 seconds. He'll get that spot right back.
That's a great catch. I didn't even see that down there on race control. And, I mean, that's going to send Luke French well down the order. No wonder why he's on a mission to try to get as far up forward as he possibly can.
In the meantime, we've been watching that battle between Giacomazzi, Siegel, and Hansen. Every once in a while, it's getting ever closer. The trio are nose to tail heading towards turn 8.
This is that battle on our screen right here. So it's led by this green car, the 296, followed up with the 267, and then the 225. You know, we've talked a lot about Jens Hansen this weekend, especially graduating out of the Caymans and up to the GT3 Cup cars. It certainly seems that he is getting more comfortable when it comes to the racecraft.
Absolutely. As we continue to follow our leader now, it looks like Stout's up to about 5.2 seconds. Bloxham's giving him a run for his money, but he's just still not able to get close enough. Oh, and Luke French just dropped behind a couple cars here. Do we have a change for position?
I was noticing that it was dropping up and down on timing and scoring, so I wonder if it's just a little bit of a transponder issue that we see. And right now, Jens Hansen has actually made the pass on Matt Siegel somewhere on the back side of the racetrack, so now move Jens up into what is going to be 6th place. He's going to be applying the pressure to the back of that green 296.
Well, and that green car is even more green. I noticed as they went by us, there is a lot of grass on the grill of that number 296. So his adventure, unfortunately, picked up a lot of friends, but he might pick up or lose a spot. Rather, down to the inside, Jens Hansen aggressive through turn 5 as they accelerate off the turn. He doesn't have the grip that Riley does.
You mentioned the inexperience from Riley Giacomazzi, but he looks like a pro out there, and now Jens Hansen is going to try to throw it down the inside. That's a surprise move, but it doesn't phase Riley one bit. Maybe a little bit wide. Now we're too wide coming out of the museum corner. They are bumper to bumper to bumper. You see the urgency out of Jens Hansen flashing the lights.
And no wonder they're urgent. We are 1 minute plus a lap to go. This race has gone by super fast between the yellow in the middle of it, and now all this action towards the end. Everybody is desperate to make up some positions. Jens Hansen wants to get himself a top 5 to close out this weekend in Alabama.
Oh, and now Jens slides it down to the inside of turn number 14 and 15 on Riley. I think he's already got him clear. Jens Hansen, talk about an excellent racecraft move in the most technical section of the racetrack.
Riley pokes his nose just a little bit, but he knows that it's a no-go down into turn 1. Fantastic stuff from Hansen, because we're going to be 1 lap to go soon here. Again, we have to wait till the clock hits 0, then the white flag will be pulled for the leader.
I mean, I love seeing the progression out of that, call it dark brown 225 car. It almost looks black out there on the racetrack, but you get up to it, it's got some pretty cool metallic flake and sparkle in it, but Jens Hansen evidently making friends with the Cup car now.
Very much so. Just took a little bit to ease in. We'll see if he can push that farther up the order in future races, but he should be proud of this top 5 if he just brings it home from here. They're already prepping that white flag because we have hit 0 on the timer. Checking to see where exactly our 243 is.
He's coming around turn number 17 right here. The white flag is in the air. Carl Stout, 1 lap remaining.
Wasn't as dominant this time, though. 5 seconds between himself and Bloxham. And in fact, the last lap, Lockie cut down on it by about 3/10. Unfortunately, that's just too little too late.
It was also Carl getting through a couple of those lapped cars out there, so he's been turning 123s all race long, and he really is the only car in the 123s. And right now, he can probably cruise to the checkered flag. He's got plenty of time, about 5.5 seconds of gap over Bloxham, and a couple of lapped cars, a few corners in front of him. I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue.
Let's not forget that Mark Bowden is looking for his first win in some time here. He still leads down in the Masters, and he's got it up to 9/10 over Alain Scalzo. He's putting himself farther away from his nearest challenger. This is good signs for him.
Got our eyes on the 243, the white and green car of Carl Stout. He approaches the brake zone of 12 and now dip it right into turn number 13, through the gutter, up and over the tunnel turn. And Joe, now he's just got sector 3 to go.
What a start to this season for the 243. Back-to-back at Sebring in his first Sprint Challenge North America race. He won the first race here at Barber, and now as he comes to the main straight, he takes the victory at Alabama for race 2 in the GT3 Cup. Bloxham will come home in second, and Blake McGovern will get a podium today.
Looks like that 240 is going to be crossing the line here momentarily. There he goes, so he collects that checkered flag. Luke French now crosses the line in 4th. What I'm curious about, though, is this 10-second penalty. How far back is Jens Hansen? Is he going to be promoted up to 4th? And yes, he is. Luke French drops all the way back to what is 7th place.
Oh, unfortunate for him. But we now look to our Masters leader, Mark Bowden. He's been looking for this one, and he is going to collect a checkered flag here at Barber Motorsports Park.
Alain Scalzo is going to finish 2nd on that Masters podium, and now we're waiting for that battle between Frank Vitiello and Fennick. Remember, Fennick was all over the back bumper of that red 248, but ever since, it seems like Frank has been able to pull out a little bit of a gap, and he claims 3rd in class.
That is a fantastic result from Frank Vitiello. He's going to be over the moon with that one. Keith McGovern, what a recovery. He'll get a 6th place in the end. We're just waiting for him to cross the line, which he does now. Considering how many adventures he had, I think that is a solid result. Speaking of, let's go through those results as Carl Stout is your winner. Lockie Bloxham was 2nd, and Blake McGovern 3rd. Jens Hansen promoted up to 4th as Riley Giacomazzi gets a top 5. Matt Siegel was 6th, and Luke French with a penalty falls all the way to 7th. Chris Hutter, P8, was followed by Evan Hinkle in 9th. Then you get to your Masters cars. The winner was Mark Bowden. 2nd was Alain Scalzo. 3rd, Frank Vitiello. P4 for Bill Fennick. Scott Neal was 5th. Keith McGovern back up to 6th with Troy Monte in 7th. Chiacchetti, P8. Greg Shermer in 9th, and Grady Willingham in 10th. Francisco de Jesus was 11th as Stephen Schmitz 12th. Todd Treffert, Joel Johnson, and Brandon Hankins are only DNFs today. We have our post-race show coming up shortly here online, so don't go away.
When was the last time you drove your Porsche to watch some racing? and you got to drive on the same racetrack. Welcome to the Porsche GT Track Day. Coaching from Porsche experts to go from recon laps to being let loose on track in your own car. VIP hospitality, paddock access, and more. Space is limited. Book now.
We have Carl Stout this time. Thankfully, I actually recognize you this time, Carl, but man, what a run up at the front. You had a restart to deal with. Did that make you nervous at all?
It was quite tricky again with Lucky. He was quite quick in the beginning. It was quite difficult to keep him behind. Had to defend pretty hard from him a few times in turn 5 and turn 8. But I think the restart kind of helped because I was able to cool my tires back down and able to reset. I feel like we had a better long run pace, so once the tires started wearing off a bit, I feel like we could get a nice gap going. Yeah, it was pretty nice race in the end. Pretty cool.
Once again, you controlled it well, but you've been racing this fantastic livery for Racing for Children's all weekend. Does it make it extra special to take a victory for them?
Yeah, exactly. It's extremely special, extremely honored to be driving with Racing for Children's livery this weekend. I want to say a huge shout out to them for making all this possible. And yeah, it's extremely special to be in victory lane in this amazing car.
You've been so dominant at the start. What is it going to take for everybody to catch you?
Well, I'm not going to say that because then they might actually catch me, so don't want that happening.
Well, congratulations. Enjoy the victory. All right. Hopping over to Bowden. We've got Mark Bowden, your winner in the Masters class. Mark, it's been a while since we've seen you at the top. How special does this feel?
This is great. This is great. Love being here with Porsche Sprint Challenge. Thanks to Yokohama and Porsche and USAC and, of course, the Fall Line guys for putting a great car together. And, qualifying wasn't great. We were the first group, and it was so cold we didn't get a very good run and ended up pretty far back in the field, but enough experience here to know the secret here is stay out of trouble, keep it clean, and let everybody else take care of things for you. And thank you, and move to the front, and that's what we did. when Todd and I forgot who else got into it in turn 2. I got hit pretty hard. Got a big donut, but nothing that's going to keep us from Sonoma. And the car was fine after that. I was a little concerned, but then it was just look forward and keep going and quit telling my team manager to tell me I'm P1. Stop telling me that.
Well, you also had the added thing of Elaine Scalzo right behind you. He's known for not being shy, shall we say. Were you nervous about that?
Well, he was there, and I kept my eyes forward on the group ahead and just managed the gap. I didn't want to get too close to them and take too much off the nose of the car because I'm not battling them, and just tried to manage it where I kept the car really good and took care of the front tires. And he would catch me a little bit, and then I'd open up a little bit, and then he'd catch me a little bit, and it was a good race. He's a good driver. He kept me honest.
Is this the best birthday present you've given yourself before?
This is a good one. This is right up there at the top. Yeah.
Happy birthday and congratulations. All right. Well, that will close out our broadcast for race 2. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.